Welcome everybody today to Let's Talk About Pools. And today's podcast is with Aaron Trapp, Sales and Marketing Manager of Certol International LLC. And we're going to be talking about your Acid Magic product today, right, Aaron? Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me on, Aaron.
No problem. Can you tell me a little bit about you and your company and how long you've been there?
Yeah, definitely. So Certol International has been around since 1979. Got started out on the healthcare side of chemicals, doing detergents, disinfectants, sterilants, things like that. In 2001, we actually acquired the formula for Acid Magic, and I guess for reasons that we can get into a little later, it was kind of a no-brainer on whether or not to take the product on. And since 2001, we've kind of grown it through some grassroots marketing, talking to local pool service techs, pool service companies here in Colorado, and then also attending and kind of growing it through some of the national pool organizations and trade shows as well. Kind of where we sit now is Acid Magic is actually our most successful product line as far as sales go here at Certol. And last year at the International Pool Spa and Patio Show, we actually took home an award for the best service industry product, voted on by some of the folks that put on the show as well as attendee kind of reviews. So
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so we're in a really good spot and looking forward to what 2021 brings.
Awesome. So let's talk about your product, Acid Magic. What is it? What are its features? What makes it so unique compared to regular muriatic acid?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so what it is basically a one-for-one replacement for standard muriatic acid. So it's going to replace your 31% muriatic acid. And what we've done is actually buffer it so that it doesn't burn skin. If it gets on you, it's not going to leave any chemical burns, rashes, anything like that. And then we've also, the buffering agents kind of allow the fumes to stay in the solution rather than outgas like a standard muriatic. So if you've ever worked with a standard muriatic, the fumes are probably the most difficult part of working with it. Some people wear respirators to deal with it. Some people are used to it and don't, but nonetheless, it's a consideration. And it just makes it a lot more user-friendly, kind of like our tagline says, user-friendly muriatic acid. And we found some great success, not only with kind of DIY pool companies, but also in different settings like commercial facilities and things like that, who have some, I guess, additional considerations for liability, storage, things like that.
So it sounds like it's a pretty safe product, and that's kind of the key thing there is it's a safe product for handling by the pool tech on an everyday basis, since muriatic acid is something that pool techs are handling on a daily basis.
It is, yeah. And as far as it doesn't have any of the, I guess, you get the benefits of like a sulfuric acid by not having the fumes, but you don't have the kind of health hazards that go along with it. So it's a great combination for someone that's just looking for a safer alternative.
Awesome. So what makes this chemical product so special? What are the benefits to using it?
Yeah, so the main one would be, I call it kind of like, this is kind of cheesy, but it's kind of the 3 S's. So the first S, we have safety. Obviously, the no chemical burns is a big safety feature. Storage is the second component to that, which, because it doesn't outgas out of the bottle, it makes it really easy to store on shelves, in warehouses, things like that. You're not going to rust or corrode any equipment, metals, anything that's kind of stored near. You're not going to have to be replacing that all the time. And then if you're in kind of a retail setting, you're not going to damage your shelving when you have it stored out. And you actually have a shelf presence for that chemical, which a lot of the times has to be stored in the back of a facility, and people don't realize you have it sometimes. So that's the second one, storage. And then the last one is shipping. Because of the safety benefits, the quarts and gallons actually ship non-hazmat or limited quantity. So any amounts ship around the country without having some of those additional costs for hazmat transportation.
Wow, that sounds pretty useful.
Mhm.
So what is the cost difference between using Acid Magic and using regular muriatic acid, just so that our listeners know
Mhm.
what they're dealing with if they choose to use something versus something else? You always have your positives and negatives.
Definitely, definitely. And it's a good question. It always comes up because obviously people are running a business. There's costs to consider with every. It seems like every benefit comes with a cost, right? So that's kind of the same with Acid Magic. It does run more expensive than a standard muriatic. It's mainly sold through distribution, so you can find it at a lot of different places at a lot of different price points. But I would say, as a general kind of go by, just for conversation purposes, you're probably looking at about a 30% increase over like a standard muriatic product.
Okay. And what are some of the distributors across the country that might carry Acid Magic?
So we have a pretty robust distributor program. We're available in some of the like national distributors like SCP, Pool Corp. Leslie's are some of the more national folks that distribute the product. But we're also available through many regional dealers, as well as just kind of local dealers, like some smaller pool shops in different states and counties. But we actually just revamped our website. I want to say mid 2020, beginning of 2020, which I know everybody kind of wants to forget about at this point. But we did get a new website, and it's www.acidmagic.com. And there's a very comprehensive list of distributors, which you can actually filter out by state, zip code, all that good stuff to find out who sells the product in your area.
Can they buy it straight from your website as well, straight from your company, or do they have to get it through a distributor?
No, generally we go through distributors. If there's a pool or service company who has a lot of them, I think bigger ones have kind of like a retail shop associated with it. We could probably work something out if that was the case as far as distribution goes or use. But normally we do kind of tend to lean towards selling through those distributors because they can actually service the customer's needs better than we can by being kind of local and on the ground.
Awesome. And does this product have any specific certifications that you've gotten for it?
It does actually. It has quite a bit for kind of a pretty strong acid product. It does have a lot of certifications that kind of allude to the safety benefits of it. I guess first off, and probably most importantly, is we've worked with NSF for a long time on certifications. So I want to say about 7 years ago, we were just certified general certification by NSF just for our plant, not really for any specific products or anything. Shortly after that, we were certified NSF 60, which actually falls into certifications for drinking water treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And all these are basically related to health effects and not necessarily like a quality measurement, I guess, that NSF is looking for. But so after the NSF 60, we got the NSF 50 about 2 years ago. And that's specifically for pool industry, pool chemicals, again, related to health effects, health concerns.
Yep.
And I guess the good part about working with NSF and having that certification is that they're, number one, a great organization that kind of is a third party who's not biased towards anything and basically looking out for consumer safety. But we are held to pretty strict standards. About twice a year, unannounced, they'll kind of come in and do an audit of the plant, the quality processes, and just overall kind of the manufacturing process to ensure that you are getting the safest product, the highest quality product in each bottle.
Well, and I can tell you, being a past public pool inspector for a local health department, that a lot of those regulatory codes for public pools are going to have that standard 50 or 60 in it for safety for pool chemicals are going to be used. So that's a biggie for you to have for your Acid Magic product, because those regulatory authorities will allow the use of your chemical. And there could be other specialty chemicals that wouldn't be allowed to be used just because they don't have that designation. So you've gone through the testing and the requirements to get that. So it has to mean something for the safety of the product.
Definitely. And I think it kind of goes to show, it's not just kind of a byproduct that comes off of another manufacturing process like a lot of standard muriatic is. It's actually a product that we've put a lot of time and effort into developing, and something that we're proud of. And we always are looking for ways to make it better by either getting feedback from customers on things they would like to see differently or included in the product, but also with some of these certifications and things like that give us the ability to go out and talk a little bit more about some of the safety benefits and things like that could benefit the end user at the end of the day.
Yep. So what can this product be used for in the pool industry? I know there's more than just using it for water chemistry.
Right. That's a good question. And to be honest with you, I've been in this position and kind of managing the ACID Magic product line now for about almost a year and a half now. And I learn new uses for it every day from people that call in. So not to say that this list is all encompassing, but the main use for it would be kind of pH adjustment in pools or spas, followed closely by doing acid washes on pools. But because of some of the non-fuming and safety benefits, it's really great for filter cleaning because you're not going to have kind of the muriatic reacting with a filter and kind of off-gassing the entire time it's cleaning.
Yep. And salt chlorine generators too, because I know a lot of times our pool companies are using the muriatic acid, the fuming muriatic acid. So this would keep that whole process pretty safe as well. Definitely.
Safer and just a lot easier to work around. We have a lot of like I said, commercial customers that have found the product that mainly just make the switch because of that effect of the fumes. Like they can actually take it around some of the hotel guests and things like that without the fear of, having the hotel guests complain about them using noxious chemicals or anything like that around the pool area, which people, I think, understand there needs to be strong chemicals in order to make a safe body of water. However, they don't want to be surrounded by those fumes all the time. So,
right.
Just some of those benefits. And I think, like I said at the beginning, the main benefit to kind of pool service industry is those fumes.
Well, and over long-term use, if you own a pool company for 20, 30, 40 years and you're around pretty noxious fumes and chemicals, I don't think there's really been health studies on that industry to see what the effects are. So having a chemical that's non-fuming, that they're not going to get the chemical burns and different things like that, yeah, it's going to cost a little bit more, but I always truly believe that your life is important to keep safe. So pool techs don't think about it every day. They just kind of, do about their job every day and not really think about it. But this is a really cool product. When I saw it, I'm almost OSHA certified as an OSHA trainer. Mm-hmm. And when I saw this, after I had been through the OSHA general industry course, and we talked about, storage of chemicals and different things like that, it really hits home about the safety in the aquatic industry that we got to start thinking about it a little bit differently. And the chemicals we're using, this really hit home, this particular product. When I saw it, I'm like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah. And I think that part of the reason why we ended up bringing the product on in 2001 was actually kind of a safety story. So our ownership was debating whether or not to kind of take on the product because it was not really related to what we did originally, which was the healthcare chemicals, like I mentioned at the beginning. But they ended up getting some feedback from customers who were using the product throughout the process when they were considering purchasing. And there was just a story about they got a testimonial from I guess a homeowner who was using it to clean out some hard water stains or calcium buildup in the toilet in a few of their bathrooms at their home. And she had actually gone and picked up the phone or something, left the bathroom for a little while, and she heard kind of a loud crash. And then come to find out her son, who I'm not sure how old he was at the time, young child, at the time had actually grabbed the bottle of muriatic, the acid magic, and actually fell backwards because it was a gallon and it was heavy, spilled all over the boy and had covered about 80% of his body. So she, of course, freaked out, ended up rushing him to the hospital to make sure everything was okay. And it turns out the boy was just fine, had a little bit of skin irritation just because, a child's skin is not as thick as an adult. And so we called, it had totally dissolved all of the clothes off of him and everything like that. But for the most part, he was relatively unscathed. So after the owners had spoken with the mother, kind of as a follow-up phone call to that experience, and hearing her feedback about how her son was doing just fine, had it been after she was talking to some of the physicians, they basically said if the same thing had happened with any other acid or a more standard muriatic acid, the outcome could have been much, much worse. So that was kind of the testimonial, which led our ownership to kind of say, all right, this is something that we think we can get behind. The safety benefits are going to outweigh the additional cost by tenfold if we present it properly. And the rest is kind of history from there.
Wow. That's a nice personal story. I'm glad you shared that with our audience today. That really hits home with the product and why you guys came up with it and really, stand behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any other new chemicals or products coming out like Acid Magic from Certol that you'd like to mention to the audience that might be useful in the pool industry?
We were actually working on an enzyme cleaner before kind of the COVID and some of the shutdowns had occurred, working on an enzyme cleaner for the pool industry. That was going to be, we're trying to develop something that either is going to be strictly an enzyme cleaner or potentially do like an enzyme cleaner / phosphate remover type of product. Like I said at the beginning, our main industry was healthcare and detergents on that side of things, and a huge part of that is using enzymes to break down some of the soils on medical instruments. So we have a really good grasp about how to use enzymes properly for those different soils, and I think that with some of our suppliers of high quality enzymes for the medical industry, I think that we could come out with a pretty awesome enzyme product. And I don't know when that would happen, but it's definitely something that we have looked into and done some R&D on. And hopefully we could have something probably by the end of 2021.
Will that be something they can use in pool water or?
Yep.
Okay. It's not surface based. It's not just surfaces. It's also water based. Got it.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that's part of the tricky part would be figuring out the right blend so that we could make it work inside of a swimming pool or body of water properly without any like foaming properties or anything like that. So with still using some of those high quality medical enzymes that we've sourced. So
thank you so much for being on my podcast episode today. I was very excited to interview you about your product. I appreciate you being on with me today, Aaron.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you for having us and supporting the product and everything that you do out in the field.
No problem. Anytime. Well, you have a wonderful day, Aaron, and stay healthy and safe out there.
Great. Thank you, Lauren. You do the same.